Hello, love. I found this book at the thrift store the other day, and it's too good to pass up. The Laptop from Hell by Miranda Devine. Open up to a random. We'll start at a chapter. It's over. Chapter 5, it's over. I was the sicko sleeping with his brother's wife. Hunter by Beautiful Things 2021. I'm leaving you because you are having an affair and you have been emotionally abusive. Hunter's wife, Kathleen, emailed him in July 2016. I forgave you for cheating before. I tried to help you get sober. And you made it clear throughout the past year that you didn't want to be with me. You didn't want my forgiveness. What? You didn't want my forgiveness? So she did want his forgiveness. You didn't want my forgiveness, and you didn't. Maybe that's the same stutter that Joe Biden supposedly had all of his life, even though it didn't appear until he started looking like Monty Burns like 3 years ago. You didn't want my forgiveness, and you didn't want my help with your recovery. I cannot control how you will twist what has happened over the past year, how you will try to make it my fault, which seems as cruel as the cheating. That is indeed what Hunter did to Kathleen, his wife of 22 years. When he told the world his version of the disintegration of their marriage in his 2021 memoir. By his account, it was Kathleen's failure to forgive him at his hour of greatest need, right after Bo's death of brain cancer in 2015, that triggered his spiral into drugs and adultery. Finally, she drove him into the arms of Bo's widow, Hallie. Or is it Haley? That's Hallie, I believe. The only woman who understood his pain. I was fortunate to have Haley's support after Bo's death. And when I was estranged from Kathleen, our world has been completely upended. And we seem to each other, and we turn to each other. And there you go. Well, it is 3:30 in the morning. And we turn to each other for strength and solace, writes Hunter, in a draft media statement on his laptop, July 30th, 2017. 3 months after his divorce. I regret the loss of my marriage, but my relationship with Hallie had nothing to do with Kathleen asking me to move out of our home 2 months after Bo died. Hunter is adamant that he and his sister-in-law didn't become a couple until 14 months after Bo's death. But Kathleen would come to believe the affair began within days of the funeral. At first, he made her feel crazy for doubting him. Hunter swore blind that his long absences from their family home in the fashionable Tenleytown neighborhood of Northwest Washington, D.C. were because he was needed back in Wilmington to comfort his brother's grieving widow and 2 children, 10-year-old Natalie and 9-year-old little Hunter. Hunter dismissed her growing unease about the situation and characterized any complaints about the time he was devoting to Hallie as callous. He stoked feelings of inadequacy and guilt in a way that only someone who knew intimately her trusting and kindly nature was able to do. 3 weeks after Bo's death, with Hunter spending all his time in Delaware with Hallie and her kids, Kathleen confides in her husband about her misery and confusion. I don't think I can fully explain why I'm upset, she writes to Hunter on June 21st, 2015. After visiting him at Hallie's house, I just know I've been sad since you came to Delaware. If only I had a pipe and what's that thing? A robe and a pipe. That's what I really need here. Is that a huge fucking spider over there? I think it's watching you with Hal and her kids. It made me sad to hear you all playing and laughing in the bedroom. Sad to have Hal tell me what a really great family moment it was, how nice it was to watch TV with you. It made me sad to hear you casually say you'd go with Hal to take Natalie to camp. You being the good guy through this and me being the sullen one, with you constantly looking at me like you don't understand why I'm upset. Just exacerbates everything. I'm sorry you feel that way, Hunter coolly replies. I thought we talked about me staying over to pick out the headstone for Bo tomorrow morning with Dad. He goes on to provide an elaborate explanation of his movements the previous evening in Hallie's house, where he says he slept on a Murphy bed in the den. Yeah, he was sleeping on Murphy, all right. I laid down with Hunter in his room. Then I joined Finnegan and Hallie and watched part of a movie we all have seen. Then I took my iPad and sat alone in the garage and watched the show. 6 weeks after Bo's death and 3 days after their 22nd wedding anniversary, Hunter had moved out of the home. That Friday, July 3rd, 2015, Hunter had stormed out of a couples therapy session and downed a bottle of vodka. He caught an Uber to Archibald's strip club near the White House. Wait, there's strip clubs near the White House? And did not return home until 5 a.m., receipts show. The next night, Hunter was with Hallie, who had been invited by Vice President Joe to drive down from Delaware with her children to celebrate Independence Day. Pop! Joe called and asked if we could go to D.C. for the 4th, Hallie had texted Hunter. We would watch fireworks from the White House or Nana's office. Joe had suggested he could take little Hunter and Natalie with him to Vancouver on Air Force Two to watch the United States play Japan in soccer's women's what? And play Japan in soccer's women's World Cup. What a fucking terribly phrased sentence. The next day, Hunter, who was planning to be home in D.C. that weekend, urged Hallie to come. I have to be in Delaware early Monday so I could drive you back Sunday afternoon. On July 4, Hunter ordered an Uber from his house in Tenleytown to the nearby VP's residence, arriving just in time for the 9:07 p.m. fireworks. But something happened that weekend that finally made Kathleen's doubts crystallize. It was because of his conduct on the night of July 4. I don't like this phrasing. I know Miranda Devine's British, but Jesus Christ, July 4. It's 4th of July, baby girl. Kathleen would later tell a divorce court that she asked Hunter to leave. Allie's children were staying overnight with Joe and Jill before heading to Vancouver on Air Force Two for the World Cup Sunday, along with Hunter's daughter, Maisie, then 15, and her friend, Sasha Obama. Hunter appears to have driven Haley the 2 hours back to Delaware to the empty house she once shared with Bo. His diary records that he was still in Delaware on Monday, July 6th, with one item listed in his diary, an 11 a.m. corporate finance call, Burisma, it's Burnham Asset Management, the ill-fated firm that would see his partner, Devin Archer, facing jail on fraud charges 5 years later. He emails his marriage therapist at 11:40 a.m. Listen, if you got a marriage therapist, just end it. To say he won't make it back in time for his... And also don't do crack and get hookers. But I'm sure that's probably why he thought the therapist was appropriate. He is due back in D.C. Tuesday for a meeting scheduled with his father and three of Joe's closest political advisors, Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donelon, Ted Kaufman, at the vice presidential residence. This is a fucking boring read. Joe is preparing an announcement to announce a run for the White House. Kathleen still holds one hope. I can't read anymore. Hold on. Let me adjust my hat. Kathleen still holds out hope of saving their marriage, but she is insisting that Hunter go to drug rehab before he comes home. Hunter, I think about you all day, she writes him on July 28th, 2015. You don't really have to keep repeating 2015 if you're keeping shit sequential. I feel physically sick because I don't feel like I'm helping you. I hope we can come up with a plan. I love you, Hunter, and hope at some level you feel that love. Hunter replies in a tone that is more conciliatory than it has been in months. It's very simple to me. I love you. You love me. We love our girls. We love our family. I need you now. You need me now. I need Hunter's or Bo's wife's bush. I need my best friend. You need your best friend. I am broken and flawed. But no one loves you more than me, baby. Days later, New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd described by... Please tell me this fucking chapter's almost over. I can't keep going on. I'll fucking need crack. Days later, New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd, described by Hunter as his father's favorite journalist, writes that Joe is seriously considering a run at the White House under the headline, Joe Biden in 2016. What would Bo do? The 72-year-old vice president has been meeting at his... I can't do it anymore. This is ponderous. It's that Casey Kasem clip. That's just fucking ponderous.